I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 168. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Chardello, coming to you on Friday, September 13th. And you can't win them all, Bobcats. Even if you thought they could. Texas State gets their first loss of the season, 31-28 to the Arizona State Sun Devils. Thursday night at UFCU Stadium in San Marcos on an ESPN primetime slate. It's a good game, great crowd. Game was tied after the first quarter at 7, after the second quarter at 21, and after the third quarter at 28. Just not after that fourth quarter. Couldn't get it done. Some late turnovers really doomed the Bobcats, but all in all, it was a good game for Texas State and an even better game for that Texas State crowd. Way to show out. That was an incredible atmosphere, electric atmosphere after a sellout crowd at the UTSA game last week. They were able to do that on a short week on a Thursday night. The student section, man, it was packed. They had a lot of things going on. They had like a snake being made from, it looked like those inflatable things they were passing out. They made a snake going from the bottom section to the top section. Interesting stuff. Great game. Nice to meet some Arizona State people as well too. They showed up. There weren't a ton of them, but the ones that were there were very loud. But win or lose, we got a news. So we're going to talk about these Bobcats. We got lots to go over. It's not all negative. We'll talk about where it went wrong, though, for sure. But there was a lot of positives and a lot of season left for this team. A lot of the things to take away. 25% of the season already done. Can you believe that? It's crazy. They played 3 games in 13 days, all at home. What a wild little run. Now a bye week for everybody. But I'm stepping on the pod. We have to get to our sponsors first. This episode is brought to you by First Lockhart National Bank. As the largest financial institution headquartered in Caldwell County, First Lockhart National Bank expanded to San Marcos in 2018 and opened a state-of-the-art branch on Hunter Road in 2020. For the past 6 years, FLNB has provided a wide range of financial services that have significantly improved the quality of life for the San Marcos community and beyond. Whether you need personal or business checking accounts, business loans, or home mortgages, they've got you covered. Plus, they offer innovative services like video banking, business banking, and a top-of-the-line mobile banking app. FLNB is also a huge supporter of Tech State football, standing out as one of the largest initial investors in NIL deals for Bobcats players. Be sure to follow them on Twitter, X, at First Lockhart, and on Instagram, at First Lockhart. Shout out to my guy, Gil Hodges, Senior Vice President at FLNB NMLS number 2475765, a proud Tech State grad and a diehard fan. We are thrilled to be partnering with Gil and FLNB all season long. You can find them at 2507 Hunter Road. That's 2507 Hunter Road, or give them a call at 512-504-7422. Again, that's 512-504-7422. First Lockhart National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions may vary. Hey, Bobcat Nation. Looking for your next real estate move? McNabb and Company Real Estate Services has been proudly Bobcat owned and operated for over 15 years. They're your go-to team for buying, selling, investing, and managing properties and everything in between. Whether you're a fan or an alum, they've got the local expertise and full service support you need. Call them today at 512-667-9129. That's 512-667-9129. Or visit them at mcnabbandco.com. That's MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. McNabb and Company, where Bobcats find their home. Give them a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter X at McNabb and Co. MCNABB, McNabb and Co. Shout out to Monica. Ran into her at the game, handed her a koozie. She's one of the day one Bobcats out there, a diehard supporter of Texas State athletics. Can't thank her enough for teaming up with us. Go check them out, mcnabbandco.com, MCNABB.com and co.com. We are also brought to you by TGC LLC, thegalindocollective.com, GALINDO, galindocollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter at TGC underscore LLC or on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad. He's been with us since last season, all the way through this season. He's even helping us get some of you to the game. Shout out to Caitlin Lopez. I put their names here, Caitlin Lopez and Jeremiah Good. I've seen Jeremiah Good on the Texas State Twitter street, so I'm glad that our winner was able to take another sicko out there. Hope y'all enjoyed that game. But thank you so much to TGC for allowing us to give out those tickets. Check them out for all your business consulting needs. TheGalindoCollective.com. That's GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com. All right. And one more for my guys at Chilsea. Chilsea, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, you can see me holding up a Win Now or Get Bent tumbler. If you order 6 or more of these custom tumblers, whatever logo you want on there, and you punch in Bobcats at the checkout, they are $15 a piece. But as you can see, poking out the top of them, usually comes with a lid. It's over here. I had to stuff a lot of koozies in there. We've got a lot of koozies from our people at Chilsea. And you can order custom koozies from them, whatever logo you want, whatever design you want. We've been showing off the black ones on the pod. They have white ones as well, but they also have all kinds of different designs. As you can see, Win Now or Get Bent all over these. Look at this one right here. There you go. An American one right there. That's a good one. Nice patriotic one, snake skin, whatever you're looking for. You can get all the custom koozies you want. Chilsea.com. They are partnering up with us this year. We were handing out koozies at the game. I ran into a lot of you out there. Let me see who I ran into. I made sure I made some notes of some true blue sickos that I ran into. Let's see, Miguel Luna, of course, my guy. I feel like I run into him every game. Liao gave you one. James Rank, I run into him a lot too. Casey Lowerwald, Trenton Burke, and his great Texas State tattoo. I took a picture of that at the UTSA game. I still got to post that one. That one rocks. But it was great to run into y'all and give you some koozies. I'll run into some more of you at the home games coming up after this bye week. Maybe I'll bring some to Houston. That NRG game. We'll be there for the Sam Houston game. If you're there and you want some koozies, you let me know. Give me a shout out. I handed out a lot, but I tried to save back a few to hand out. I had that student section. They were real feisty. They wanted a lot of those koozies, so we gave a lot to them. But thank you so much to Dennis Redding at Chilsea.com, CHILZEY.com. True Tech State grad, True Tech State sicko, and a Tech State grad. Has been partnering with us since last year, allowing us to hand out these koozies, which has been a lot of fun. Great stuff for us. All right. As I said, win or lose, we news. So let's get to these Bobcats. Texas State, Arizona State recap. We went through the score 31-28. Let's go through the scoring real fast. I talked about I was tied at the end of every quarter except the fourth quarter. It was a close game all the way through, which was a good sign for Texas State to go toe to toe with a Big 12 team, a pretty solid team as well. I mean, they're 3-0 right now. They're undefeated, and they have a real strong uh, line of scrimmage on both sides, offensive line and defensive line. But I feel like Texas State's defensive line especially did a great job against, and I wouldn't say great. They did a decent job against a really strong running team, holding him to like 101 yards. I know Cam Scatabo was like at like 2.9 yards a carry, something like that. We'll go through all the stats, but first we'll start with the scoring. Let's jump to the first quarter. Arizona State, they got on the board first. 10-play drive, ate up 4 minutes and 46 seconds off the clock, and they ended it with a Cam Scatabo 1-yard plunge into the end zone, 7-0. The Bobcats, though, they responded with an uncharacteristic long time consuming drive. They had a couple of them in this first half. But this next one that they went on, they got the ball 14 plays, 75 yards, ate up 7:27 off the clock, ended on another touchdown for Chris Don Jr. That's three touchdowns for that guy, having a nice breakout season for him. They were able to add to that later in the second quarter. Jaden Williams 6-yard touchdown that ended a 15-play drive. That play ate up 6 minutes and 47 seconds. So those first two scoring drives for Texas State, how much time they were able to eat up was a little bit of a new wrinkle for them, and it seemed to really work out, especially against a team that with Arizona State, they like to control the clock and run the ball. So to take that away from them in the first half, that's how you saw the results early. In the second half, I'm sure that wasn't the case. It seemed like it was flipped. Without checking, I'm pretty sure that the time of possession in that second half was flipped in favor of Arizona State. But at this point, it's 14-7, 8 minutes and 31 seconds into the second quarter. Bobcats add to it with a real quick drive, 3 plays, 50 yards, 19-yard touchdown by Bo Sparks, the Utah Tech transfer out there wearing number 11. So at this point, it's 21-7 for the Bobcats. 5:16 left in the first half. Feeling good. Everybody's feeling good. Looking at that, 2-score lead, double digits. Probably going to go into the half with at least a 1-score lead, right? That's how it was feeling. Not so fast. Arizona State, they then had a big play from Jordan Tyson, 52-yard touchdown from Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson who had 111 yards receiving in the first half. He finished the game with 120, but in that first half he had 111. So that made it 21-14 with 3:46 left in the first half. Arizona State gets the ball back, and I should look up the circumstances to how they got that ball back, because I remember, again, I was on the sideline for this one taking pictures, so there are certain aspects that I did miss without seeing it live. Because even when I went to go watch the recap on ESPN Plus, I was like, last time I went to watch every UTSA game, tried to turn it on that night, and it worked. This one, I tried to turn it on last night, didn't work. Tried to turn it on again this morning, it didn't work. It keeps saying connection error. So I haven't gotten to do a good rewatch yet. I even held off on recording the pod till noon, trying to get that because I wanted to get a good rewatch before this. But we'll get to that one. They'll load that eventually. I'm not sure what's going on with ESPN Plus, but sometimes this happens when they load games. They can imagine how massive the platform is of all the stuff that they're trying to load from all the games across the country. So some issues there. But I do know that after that Jordan Tyson touchdown, they made it 21-14. Texas State got the ball back, and they gave it back pretty quickly to Arizona State. And Arizona State put up an 11-play, 57-yard drive, ate up 2:32 off the clock, ended on a Sam Leavitt touchdown. Not leave it, Leavitt. I think I said leave it last one. With 6 seconds left in the half, tied the game with 6 seconds left in the half. So kind of took the wind out of the sails right there. Those last 5 minutes of the second half, Bobcats were riding high for that first quarter and change, and then right before halftime, it was all washed. It was 0-0 at the break, basically. After halftime, though, Bobcats regained the lead. A nice 44-yard touchdown from Jaden Williams, his second touchdown in the game, third touchdown of the season for the young guy. We were just talking about him on the last pod, and he did have a big game. He was primed for it this time, and he showed up. We'll get to his stats. I was about to look them up real fast, but we'll get to Jaden Williams' stats and everyone else's stats after we go through all the scoring. So right now we're at 28-21, 4 minutes and 18 seconds left in the third quarter. Another I was about to say another big drive, a long drive for Arizona State, but it actually wasn't. This one was a quick one where it was at 7 plays, 75-yard drive, 2 minutes, 8 off the clock. This is one where I remember they were pushed back in third down. And it seemed like it was going to be a 3-and-out. Bobcats we're gonna hold on to their lead, and then it was 3 or 4 big plays, quick plays, chunk plays, and they were able to score. So Leavitt was really moving around, and it was the first time that Texas State had faced a true mobile quarterback. It had been a couple guys who hung out more in the pocket, and they were able to tee off on those quarterbacks, able to get back there into the pocket and hit them or take them down. Levette was moving around and he was able. I mean, first half it was working. That second half he was really getting some chunk yards. And we'll go through his stats. I know he ended with 40 yards after having negative 12 in the first half, so he was able to get loose a little bit in that second half. So they, yeah, they're not the Bobcats. They almost had a three and out, couldn't get it. Then it was chunk plays. It was like three chunk plays. That's what it was. It was three chunk plays. Boom, 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 and then Cam Scatterbo 2 yard rush for the score. His second rush of the day. He got in the end zone twice, but they held him in check for the most part. As far as his standards are concerned, he still gained like 64 yards, I believe. But we'll get to those all of those stats. And then to the fourth quarter, wasn't a ton of scoring in the fourth quarter. But it was a very important quarter. Obviously, it's the last one, but it was for the how the game turned out because it was like, okay, this is a back and forth contest. Everybody's answering everybody else's scores, but it's pretty neck and neck. And one thing that happens in these neck and neck games that can really bite another team is turnovers, and that's what happened for Texas State. The first one from Ish Mahdi, usually a very sure-handed person. He doesn't fumble a whole lot. I can remember he even had a cast on his hand last year, and he wasn't really fumbling. He's catching passes with that cast. They just ripped that ball out of his hands. And I feel real bad for him because that ended up leading to the difference in the game, the game winning field goal for Arizona State. What time was it? It was 6:29 left in the fourth quarter. Ian Hershey was able to hit a 22-yard field goal. That gave Arizona State a 31-28 lead. Bobcats get the ball back. And this is another one where I really wish I could see the replay because I didn't get a good look at Jordan McLeod's interception that he threw. I could tell it was on a deep ball. I was in the back of the end zone. His back was facing to me while I was taking some pictures. And it didn't look like a very good ball. I need to look at it and see what the what all happened with that play, if he had pressure or what was going on. But through that interception, that essentially allowed Arizona State to ice the game. It did get real funky at the end though. This is one where, you know what, I am going to pull up this fourth quarter play because it ended up where they were kneeling it out. There's like a minute 33 left. Turnover on downs for Texas State. That's right on that very like towards the end, and that's how Arizona State they got it back deep in their territory for a little bit. I was like, okay, they're going to run the ball and probably try a field goal. Respectful decision to kneel it out, that especially that close to the opponent's end zone with 133 left. But I remember seeing that 133 and being like, man, that's, not that's a lot of time for the kneel out for the victory formation. I think it was 133. I have the drives right here. Let's see when I guess their drive started at 2:08. And then the 2-minute timeout. Look at that. Helping out. Gave the Bobcats a timeout there. Yeah, so I guess it was a couple minutes and they started kneeling out at 133. That's what it was. Yeah. 119 actually. It's when they started kneeling it out. And they didn't time it right. They got all the way to fourth down. Levette kneeled it out. And there was a second left. If he had held off on putting his knee on the ground for another second, but the game was over. Everybody was piling onto the field. I was in the team room getting ready for the press conference, and then I'm hearing like they're running one more. They're running one more, and I didn't even see the one more. Another reason I want to see that replay. It seemed like they tried to do the whole lateral deal, and it ended up going back to Arizona State. That's why I had three turnovers. If you see that in a box score for Texas State, that last one was kind of on a crazy play for the Bobcats. But let's go through the stats real quick for the Bobcats. 400 yards of offense to 347 over Arizona State. They outgained them there. 268 to 246 on passing yards. They outgained them there. And 132 to 101. They outgained them there. Penalties, both teams had 8 penalties, but the Bobcats had 69 yards on theirs, 34 yards for Arizona State. Now, I talk more about the turnovers than I do the penalties, even though those penalties they're not great. It wasn't like the Lamar game with 16, where it was just a bunch of penalties. There were some bad ones, but there were also some bad calls with the that targeting call specifically. How that was the called targeting, and then they took it back. I don't understand that at all. That was one where a little behind the scenes. I was actually standing next to a scout for the Indianapolis Colts. Guess I kind of nudged him and said, "Ben Bell, right there. They'll give you a raise." And he said he'd heard that one before, so it didn't work. My pleas to the Colts to draft Ben Bell. But even before they threw the flag, he goes, "Oh, targeting." Right when that play happened, they threw the flag. I was like, "Yeah, it's targeting. It's targeting." And it just the general consensus was that's a targeting call. It didn't even when they reviewed it, it was like, yeah, this is no big deal. I think I was messing with my camera. Didn't even think I had to pay that close attention. But no, yeah, that player got to stay in the game. That should have been an ejection and everything. So I'm not going to hang too much about on penalties. I think those turnovers towards the in the fourth quarter, that's really where what it came down to. Just not being sound towards the end of that game in that department. After being so sound that whole game, um, I say the whole game. It was actually pretty wavy. When they went up 21-7, they let them get back in it. It was pretty wavy, but they hadn't had any turnovers up until that point, up until the fourth quarter in those last two, and that was the difference. Arizona State gained the lead off that first one, and then they held on to it with that second one. So, but otherwise, they were right there. That's why I'm kind of going through all this other stuff. They had more first downs, 21 first downs to 20. That's really it's close. 8 for 17 on third down. I liked that. 2 for 4 on fourth down. There was one somewhat. It could be a polarizing one where they went for it kind of deep in Arizona State's territory, but they didn't have the. It wasn't quite close enough for a good field goal, not far enough for a punt. So I kind of understood that one. 75 plays to 72. I mean, they did a great job. Time of possession. This is a big one because I know the Bobcats owned a 4 or 5 minute time of possession lead at halftime, and it ended up going into Arizona State. What is that? Just by a little bit, by 32 seconds, 30 minutes and 16 seconds to 29 minutes and 44 seconds for Arizona State. So it's a neck and neck game. It's hard to get overly critical of the Bobcats. I don't believe in moral victories. This is still a loss, and this is one that they should have won. They had a double digit lead in the first half, and they had them on the ropes, and they didn't finish the job. Those turnovers really got them. The 3 games in 13 days. That's a lot. It's a lot going for this team. Um, it's a it's a really big opponent after such an emotional game on Saturday. That game there was a ton of emotion after that after beating UTSA, and you could see it. You could see it on. We didn't get to talk to any players after the game. Didn't love that. Got to bring them out after a loss. It's okay. We don't bite. We'll be nice. But GJ Kenny spoke, and you could see the emotion in his face. It's been a real a lot has happened within 2 weeks for this program. A lot of emotions, and to come out with all those emotions hanging over when usually we even talked about it I talked about it with Reese on the preview pod. Reese Largent, our great intern. Check out his content, putting out some good stuff on the patreon.com/when now I get bent. But we were talking about it, the potential for a hangover game, and I didn't see a hangover. I saw a team that was ready for this moment on short notice. They were ready 5 days later. They were ready for a primetime game against the Big 12 opponent. I liked the performance I saw up until obviously the what happened in the fourth quarter with the turnovers. There's obviously it's not it's far from perfect on both sides of the ball, but I'm starting to kind of understand what they're about and forgiving more. Maybe I mean that more so on defense, and I'll talk more about that. But let's go through these stats. I'm getting ahead of myself, huh? But Jordan McLeod, 29 for 44 passing, 268 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. He also Where did I have that? Yeah, 4.9 yards a carry on 17 carries this season so far, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really like him running the ball. Those 9 touchdown passes to 3 interceptions, 815 yards passing. It's those are fun stats right off the bat when you look at them, especially the offense is averaging 37 points a game through the first 3 games. It's nice to see that they were able to recover after losing TJ Finley after a really good quarterback. And it's not a massive surprise that the Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year came in and did a really good job on the number one offense in the Sun Belt. It's not surprising, but it is a testament to their recruitment and to staying true to their scheme. Well, 3 games with Jordan McLeod's a good sample size now. We obviously you see him at JMU, but it's a different offense, different coach, different everything. So coming to Texas State, getting a sample size of him in this offense and what he looks 3 games is nice. I feel like I know what I'm looking at, what kind of quarterback I have, what I really like about him and what I dislike about him. But let's talk about what I love. What I love about Jordan McLeod is his decision making. I feel like he makes the right choice just about every time. Even if he tucks in and decides to run the ball, that was the right decision. When he passes the ball, where he passes the ball, that's the right decision. He doesn't take unnecessary sacks because of that as well. When he's like, okay, now it's time to run. But if they're blitzing and there's no run lanes, now it's time to get this ball out quick. Or if I'm running for my life outside the pocket and no one's breaking away from the DB, okay, time to throw this ball out of bounds. I appreciate those decisions from Jordan McLeod. I think he's an excellent, excellent decision maker. If there's something I don't like, I don't hate it, but I don't like it is his deep ball. See, because I love the decision making, so this doesn't mean I hate his deep ball because we've seen it work. I think about the Chris Dawn touchdown against UTSA. That was kind of a deep one, but Dawn really had to jump up and grab that one. It just feels like these deep balls they sail over the receivers quite a bit. I will say I at least it's not being put in a place where it can be picked off. It's going out of reach from everybody. But I don't love the deep ball. I love his decisions when he's like, okay, I'm going to throw here, I'm going to throw there within 10, 15 yards. It feels pretty automatic and that ball gets there quick. But that deep ball, it sails. It just doesn't quite have that touch to drop into the basket. Which at JMU, it seemed like it was a different deal. So maybe this is a receiver quarterback chemistry situation. I don't know exactly if that might be the case or what's going on, but it just feels like that's not on the right page. Those deep balls. That's probably my biggest weakness of McLeod. But otherwise, I like most of what I see from him. I think he should run the ball more. I do. I think let me see those stats. We were just looking at stats for McLeod. Rushing stats: 8 rushes for 45 yards. It's not bad. Eight's fine. I feel like you could get him in the double digits on those carries. This team in general, I mean, when they were running against UTSA, they were having a lot of success, and it felt like they were running a little bit more in the first half, not as much the second half. But I could have that wrong because that front seven for the Sun Devils was pretty strong. But speaking of rushing, let's talk about rushing for the Bobcats. 14 carries for 68 yards for Mahdi. He did have that fumble. 8 carries for 45 yards for Jordan McLeod. We just talked about him. 6 for 22 for Lincoln Perry. And that's it. Oh, Joey Hobart, two carries minus one. I forgot they did some of those. But then we saw them unleash some more running backs last week against UTSA and going back and getting a full rewatch of that UTSA game. That might have been more so just garbage time towards the end of that game. A lot of these other guys were getting in because we did not see them unload the arsenal of running backs like they did. This one was just Mahdi and Perry getting back there. So I think this team, it was 44 passes to 31 rushes. I think it needs to get a little closer to 50-50 there. I think this is the strength of this offense, and that's not a bag on receivers or McLeod or anybody. If anything, I think this offensive line is really good. I think they're really strong. And I think I have a note on them. I could just cut to it now, actually. Yeah, let's talk a little offensive line. Then I'll jump back into stats because Nash Jones, he's playing both guard positions. I was noticing that yesterday, left guard and right guard. They're moving them all across. Strawn's taking over at that left tackle spot. Chase Todd looking really good at center. I mentioned the snaps against Lamar. They're looking much crisper, and he is blocking his man that's in front of him. He's doing a terrific job at that center position. Then on the right side, it really seems like, of course, Lockett there at guard. He switches back and forth too, like Jones. But it seems like Harkey is solidifying that right tackle spot over Trenton Scott, at least from my notes and Reese's notes too. Reese Largent, our great intern, that was one of his notes when he and I were talking after the game. But yeah, the offensive line play, they're looking really good. So with that being said, I feel like they should run more. 31 attempts against Arizona State. Maybe that was situation, played more into it with this game, but I think I would like to see this offense just run the ball more. Just need to that's what really makes it go. And you think like a quick paced offense. You're like, oh, this is a passing offense. They're just trying to get down the field as fast as they can, but they stretch the field horizontally more so than vertically, and it sounds counterproductive when you're trying to go forward with football, but they tend to make it work by really stretching those sidelines. Receiving Joey Hobart, 8 catches for 54 yards. Bo Sparks, 5 for 60 and a touchdown. Good for Bo Sparks. Mahdi had 5 catches for 28 yards. Jaden Williams, 4 for 75, 2 touchdowns. Good for Jaden Williams. What is that? 18.8 yards per catch for Jaden there. 4 catches for 37 yards for Cole Wilson. And then Chris Don, 3 for 21. It's still, we haven't, the depth at receiver, they haven't really had to go beyond that depth. And we just see a lot from the starters and Bo Sparks. I know they still have Jalen Griffin. They have Anderson, the Oklahoma State transfer. There's some receivers that I thought we would see a little bit more of that we haven't, at least not up to this point. A lot of season left. They're relatively healthy. Couple guys went down last night, but even the guys that I saw go down against UTSA, uh, uh, Ryan Nolan, safety, Dominic Ratcliffe, they were both out there dressed, ready to go. And even this one, they had a couple guys go down. I feel like I saw Steven Parker go down. But those guys will have a bye week to rest up. Haven't seen Torrey Spears get in there yet. See him in the pads, but he hadn't really gotten in there. I think they could use him at safety. Let's go through Arizona State stats real quick. 19 for 30 for 246 yards and 1 touchdown, 1 interception for Sam Levet. Scatabo, 24 yards or 24 carries for 62 yards, 2.6 per carry, 2 touchdowns. This is a guy who rattled off 260 some odd yards against Mississippi State. They were able to hang with him. He got into the end zone, but 62 yards on 24 carries. That's a pretty good day by this defensive line. As a whole, rushing as a whole for Arizona State, 101 yards on 42 carries. It's 2.4 yards per carry. They did get 3 touchdowns, but that is a terrific job for a team that has been ran over opponents the first 2 games. Didn't run over the Bobcats in this one. If anything, they got beat a little bit more by Levet than Scatabo or any of the running backs. Jordan Tyson, we talked about him earlier. 6 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. And that's it. We don't have to keep going through their stats, right? We're done with Arizona State stats. I want to look at some defensive stats for the Bobcats because I want to see, yeah, okay, 8 TFLs, 3 sacks, and 4 quarterback hits. So they were getting back there. They were getting active again. They had that interception, 3 pass breakups, but this is really they're this is not a defense that's going to get a ton of shutouts. They're not going to get shutouts, but they are going to punch you in the mouth. Feels like everybody pays when they catch the ball. They'll be allowed to catch the ball, but then they're going to get hit. Uh, Arizona State was doing the same thing. I'll tell you that their defense was sticking it as well. That was a fun game. It just that was the best part. That was one of the few games where I've left after a loss, and I was actually pretty proud of the Bobcats where they went out there and they were hitting back, they were punching back, and they did that. There is some weakness underneath in the middle of the defense. Where they're able to get some chunk yards from off passes. They're able to find if the pass rush doesn't get there and there's a mobile quarterback who's able to extend the play, get out of the pocket, they're able to expose those weaknesses a little bit. And you do see that. But I do appreciate the ferociousness of the hits and the passion that they play with. They play with a lot of passion. Um, yeah, Chris Mills with his interception. That's always great to see. If you remember a few years ago, Spavital era, Chris Mills took a real nasty hit. And they had to bring an ambulance to come get him. And it was a real scary situation that obviously he recovered from, but didn't look good at the time. So it's always cool every time you see Chris Mills doing some stuff. He's been doing it real good stuff since last year, but getting that interception this year is pretty great. Um, yeah, some interesting notes as well. Ben Bell was playing all over the place. They were putting him at inside linebacker and some very interesting places, real versatile. You even seen him in coverage a little bit. I thought that maybe they're trying to put up display some of his versatility for the next level, or really they just feel like he's such that type of athlete that you can put him in multiple places. But that's something to watch, not just pass rushing anymore, but also they'd put him at inside linebacker and send him. He's still going after the quarterback. It's just kind of in his DNA. The attendance was great. Awesome attendance for this game. 25,187 for a Thursday night in San Marcos. That's a really good showing, especially after the 28,000 against UTSA. They were averaging 21,184 last season, and that was a program record. They're already on pace to surpass that this season. So hats off to the Bobcats. I can imagine, obviously the players, the coaches, they need a break. Those players have got to be sore. Everyone's got to be tired. But same for the administration at Texas State for putting up 3 games in 13 days. I know I'm pretty worn out after it. I'm looking forward to a Saturday of sitting back and watching some other games. As much as I love watching the Bobcats, don't get me wrong. It's nice to just relax and watch some football. But yeah, hats off to everyone involved. That was a incredible crowd. Great to show that on a national stage as well. I know I have a good buddy, Ryan Nettleship, my good buddy from high school. He graduated from Arizona State, and I was texting with him, showing him videos of the crowd and stuff, and he was impressed with Texas State, real impressed with Texas State. So it's good to show people that may not necessarily know. They know of Texas State, but they don't know what it's about. And once they see what it's about and they see that, goes a long way. It's great running into Tim Gay as well. I wrote that note. Tim Gay, great fullback for Texas State. Played some defensive line as well, paved the way for Rob Lowe and Terrence Franks, some of these other guys. Also ran into him and Dallas McCarty, former D lineman for the Bobcats. I also ran into Mike at college football campus tours. Do you know him on Twitter? I had to take a hands in pocket picture. If you're chronically online like I am myself, you know who this individual is. He goes around to about literally almost 100 games a year to just take in the scene, go check out the atmosphere during a game and walk around and look at it. And I knew he was coming to Texas State. I didn't even have to I DM'd him before being like, hey, I definitely want to run into you. But we didn't even have to coordinate it. I walked up to go get my photo pass and there he was. So we took a good hands in pocket picture. You can find that one on Twitter, the old Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. But that was great. We're gonna have him on the pod soon. He's a busy guy. He's got a slate of games coming up this weekend. So I'm hoping to secure that by the bye week. Shout out to College Football Campus Tours. That's a pretty cool deal that they do. But that'll do it. That'll wrap it up. We don't want to spend too much time talking about this loss. And we're gonna be cranking it out. The bye week's coming up, but it's not a bye week over at Win Now or Get Bent. We're gonna be pulling out the content. Like I said, College Football Campus Tours, and I'm gonna have Brent Freeman on the pod coming up. We'll have some more good guests, maybe some on location episodes coming up. We shall see. Stay tuned for that. Until then, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/win now or get bent. Shout out to my guy Reese Largent, our great intern, doing some great work on there. I'm on there too as well, posting some good stuff. Check out our merch site, WNOGB.com. You can get a great Win Now or Get Bent shirt like myself. I'm wearing the black Mad Cat shirt. I wore that at the blackout yesterday. You can get all kinds of colors, all kinds of stuff, sweaters, mugs, lots of good stuff. Check out our YouTube page, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out our Twitter at Win Now or Get Bent. Check out our Instagram at WNOGB. Thank you to TGC, First Lockhart National Bank, McNabb, and Chilsey. Thank you to the great wizard, Zachary Webb, my guy. He had a Jordan game. He got that. We're still going to put out cinematic recaps. You got to look for it. Win or lose, we news. My guy was out there not feeling great. Not COVID though. That was good. He's a responsible guy. He's testing for COVID all week. He was good. Not contagious or anything either, but he was out there doing his thing, getting those touchdowns. There's those two in the second quarter. I was kind of hanging over his shoulder on him. My goodness, what a shot. Can't wait for you to see that. So look out for the cinematic recap. That'll be coming out this weekend. We gotta let my guy rest. Maybe we'll shoot for Saturday, maybe Sunday, but don't put a deadline on it for our great producer. And of course, Reese, already shouted out my guy Reese. Shout out to Reese Largent. Did a great job at the game representing us in the press box last night. And thank you to you sickos, especially the ones that shouted me out when I was on the sideline. You wanted to get your koozies. I got you hooked up. I love that. If you ever see me and you just yell Win Now or Get Bent, I'll get you that koozie. No problem. It's always great seeing you sickos. The pod has done a lot of growth, and it's all because of y'all. And I can't thank you enough. We're going to continue to grow, bring you that awesome content. Anything for these Bobcats. Bye week. Oh man, let's all take a nice rest this week. Come back, recharge for the last 75% of the season. See, that's what we got to start saying after 3 games. It's not that 25% of the season is already gone. It's that 75% is left. That's what we got coming up. So there you go, sickos. Enjoy your weekend. Win now or get bent.